I'm coming up to my 4 years as artistic director of Northern Ballet. It's flown by, it's been an incredible amount of work. And so I remember doing this interview with Dance Europe when I had still to step into my current job. And it was at the Opera House. I was finishing dancing. I had probably just done or just about to do my last performance of Swan Lake. Here we are in the boardroom at Northern Ballet in Leeds 4 years later. It has been quite a ride. It's been incredible. It's been at times frustrating, at times very difficult, but I'm still here doing the job. I'm still loving the job. I don't love every aspect of the job, but it is an incredible job. And to be part of this company with this group of dancers, with this group of makers, both the sets and the wardrobe, and everybody then supports the company, the musicians, the touring, the physio team. It's been really an incredible journey. It has been just, I think just a few weeks since we opened Gentleman Jack, which is the first new production that Northern Ballet has done in 6 years, I believe. So it has been a long time. It was something that I personally wanted very much, and the company wanted very much. We definitely are a company that likes to make new work, new and original work, so 6 years was a bit long, a bit too long. Gentleman Jack has been on stage, choreography of Annabelle Lopez, music by Peter Salem, dramaturgy by Claire Croft, and costume designs and set designs, wonderful team of people. It's been really well received, so that was really good, well received by the press, but I have to say really well received by the audience. The last performances we've done were in Sheffield, and I was really surprised. I mean, I was really surprised, maybe not so surprised, but I was really pleased to see basically standing ovations every night. And we had a group of women coming down from Halifax. It was Anne Lister's birthday celebration. And Anne Lister, of course, was Gentleman Jack, the character at the center of this ballet. And so there were 50 women coming down from Halifax, and right at the end of the show they stood up and they started clapping. So those things give you a bit of the rewards, right, when you do the job that I'm doing. So it's been really good. The inspiration to do Gentleman Jack came, I think it's fair to say, from the TV series. So Sally Wainwright made a wonderful TV series called Gentleman Jack, on the BBC HBO collaboration, and I had seen the show, and it was really cool. I mean, Suran Jones is such an amazing actress, and everybody else then playing that series, and to see a woman that was so strong, decisive, living life exactly how she desired, and still see the struggles that she went through because of her being a woman. So a businesswoman 200 years ago was definitely not easy. And of course being a gay woman, so a lesbian, at the time when the word didn't even exist, was really inspirational to see that show. That's how I got to know the character. And then I thought, Northern Ballet is based in Leeds, Halifax is just, it's just there, literally 30 minutes away. And it felt very much like a Northern Ballet story to be telling. And obviously we have 4 million words written in the diaries that Anne Lister left behind. So the inspiration came through the diaries, and the artistic team made an amazing job at condensing what is, 30 years of life, someone's life, into a ballet that is just one evening. But I think it's been really successful. I'm very proud of the work that the creative team, led by Annabelle, has done, but also very proud of how the company of dancers, of the wardrobe, the set makers, everybody really bought into a story that is quite unconventional for the ballet world, the story of a queer woman. Everybody really embraced the story and the character. The version of Romeo and Juliet by Northern Ballet, it's a version that I knew because I had danced it in Italy. with Alina Kojokaru many years ago. It was a wonderful experience. We danced it actually in a replica of the Globe Theatre in Rome, so it was really a special experience. Obviously the story behind this Romeo and Juliet by Northern Ballet is very interesting, because Christopher Gable, who commissioned this ballet for the company and of course was a dancer with the Royal Ballet, created the Macmillan version of Romeo and Juliet, although I believe he never danced it. And then he left the company, went into acting. He had a very successful career in acting, and then when he became artistic director of Northern Ballet, he commissioned this version of Romeo and Juliet. So there is a bit of a through line for me as a former dancer at the Royal Ballet and now artistic director of Northern Ballet. So it was a very easy decision to bring it back, because it's a wonderful ballet, because the company had not done it for many years. Actually, the costumes and sets had been destroyed in a flood here in Leeds. So we revived it in a very loving manner, I think. Some of the costumes are completely new, some of them were actually restored. The set is very much the original, although restored, revived. We actually worked with Sir Greg Doran to get into the space of the story of Romeo and Juliet. So Greg Doran, who's of course a theatre director and former director of the Royal Shakespeare Company, came to Leeds and worked with the dancers. And I remember the first day, the dancers walking around the studio reciting the sonnet at the beginning of Romeo and Juliet. Now, you don't usually see dancers reciting Shakespeare, but that's how we started approaching this choreography of Romeo and Juliet. And by the way, another highlight, I think, of my time here at Northern Ballet was taking Northern Ballet's Romeo and Juliet at the Royal Shakespeare Company Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon. And I have two anecdotes that I would love to tell you, and one is referred by front of house staff at the RSC, where apparently there were a couple of American tourists coming to Stratford to see Romeo and Juliet. And after 10 minutes, they started to wonder, are they going to start speaking? Nobody is speaking, what is this? And so they didn't know they were coming to see a ballet. They thought they went to see the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. And the other anecdote is that I was having dinner with my chair in Stratford before one of the performances, and the waitress came to us asking us if we had seen Northern Ballet's Romeo and Juliet because it was the best show in town. Now, you know, that was a good thing to say in front of my chair. If I think of the 4 years, I've talked about some of the great memories, and there are many more, right? There were also some difficult moments, because obviously I started in 2022, not long after COVID. Like many other organizations, art organizations in particular in the UK, the economic situation was really challenging, especially for a touring company like Northern Ballet that takes pride in touring far and wide across the UK. So there were some very difficult moments. I think probably the most difficult one being the decision that we've had to make against our will, but very much our decision in the end, was to do some of the performances to record the music. Now, I'm very happy to say that we have just commissioned Gentleman Jack to a new score for a small orchestra that we are going to be touring Cinderella later in the year to a live orchestra. So it's very much our intention to do live music all the time. Really, this is our intention. This is where we start from. And the reality is that some of the time we will be to record the music. The dancers, there has been some change from when I joined. Yes, of course. There were a number of well-established dancers that left the company just as I was joining. And then some others that have left since. We've had some new dancers coming in. I mean, if I'll be honest, there's probably maybe just one or two dancers leaving every season. So it is within the normal ways than things go in a ballet company. But there is a young generation of dancers coming up the ranks of the company that I'm very excited about. There are some very talented dancers that I'm looking to see how they will continue to perform. While at the same time there are some dancers that have been with the company for a very long time, and they deserve all the the chances and the praises that they get. So I feel at the moment it's a good mix. So some of the exciting things coming up. So yes, we've just opened Gentleman Jack. Now we're going on tour this winter with Cinderella. This is Michael Pink's Cinderella. So Michael Pink used to be a dancer and a choreographer with Northern Ballet, and he now directs a company in Milwaukee in the US. So he's coming here to, and we're doing his Cinderella. And then we are going to revive Wuthering Heights, which I think is one of the cornerstones of the repertoire of the company by David Nixon. David Nixon, my predecessor as artistic director of Northern Ballet. We also have a new choreography coming up by choreographer Tyler Peck. Tyler is a principal dancer with New York City Ballet, and this would be the second piece she's made for the company. So if we're talking about highlights about the past, it's definitely bringing Tyler to work with Northern Ballet for the first time in the UK. She's made a ballet for us 2 years ago, and now she's coming back this summer to make a new piece. And it's going to be an exciting piece because it's on Liszt piano music, Etude de Paganini, so on Paganini tunes. Very much looking forward to this. It's still to be created. And also looking further ahead, we have Mututuzeli November coming back to make a new piece for us, and that's for 2027. Now Mututu has been a real close friend of the company, I would say. He's made a couple of pieces for us since we're here, and one that it's really close to my heart is Fools. Fools is basically a South African version of Romeo and Juliet, and Mututu did it for us at the very same time as we revived Romeo and Juliet. So there was a nice duality there, the traditional version of Romeo and Juliet and then a new version based on a South African novel, Hill of Fools. Actually, I am very excited to tell you. Probably for the first time you will hear it here, then we are making a new Swan Lake. This will come to us in 2027 as well. It is a co-production with Bordeaux Ballet, so they will do it first and then it will come to us. It is very much an idea that I've been working on for many years. Swan Lake is a ballet that is very dear to me. Obviously, it's a very successful ballet, right? It's the quintessential ballet that everybody knows. I've asked Rachel Beaujean to choreograph it. Rachel is, until the end of the season, Associate Artistic Director at Dutch National Ballet. I have a long history with Rachel because I was a dancer at Dutch National Ballet when Rachel had just stopped dancing and she was coaching me. So she coached me on quite a number of Van Manen ballets, some of which I've managed to bring into the repertoire here at Northern Ballet. And then Rachel has, of course, done a huge amount in choreography, starting fairly late in her career, but she has choreographed Giselle, Bayadère, recently Raimonda, and some others. And so I thought she was the perfect person to make a new version of Swan Lake for Northern Ballet. I was very clear that I wanted a recognizably classical version of Swan Lake, but that I wanted to look at the agency of the female characters in our Swan Lake. So I thought that I went to Rachel and I've asked her to work with Uzma Hamid. Uzma is a dramaturg, and I know her because she works a lot with Wayne McGregor, resident choreographer at the Royal Ballet, with whom I've worked with the two of them, both Uzma and Wayne, many years in the past. So I've asked Uzma and Rachel to get together to come up with a story that is still Swan Lake, and people should expect to come and see tutus, right? And the classic and iconic pas de deux, but the story is going to be a little different. So it's going to be a bit Northern Ballet different. And my brief to both Rochelle and Uzma was to look at the agency of the female characters in Swan Lake.